F1 star Kimi Räikkönen makes his first laps in a NASCAR Cup Series stock car, and with Noah Gragson heading to Petty GMS, that seat over at JRM is wide open and the rumors are running rampant. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Hope you're doing well. Before we get started, I want to promote the latest episodes of my new podcast, Zoom Lens. It's a show where a couple of racing fans, including myself, review racing movies. There are several episodes already available, and next week's show will be on The Last American Hero, the 1973 film based heavily on the life of Junior Johnson. I can't wait for you guys to hear that episode, so be sure to check out Zoom Lens. Link is down in the description. It's available on all major podcast platforms. Before we get to Kimi Räikkönen and touch on some junior motorsports rumors, I want to wrap up a topic from yesterday. Noah Gragson is heading to Petty GMS. He'll drive the 42 car full-time next season. It's reportedly a multi-year deal. You can hear all my thoughts on that in yesterday's episode, but there's one quote from Mike Beam, the president of GMS Racing, that I didn't talk about in yesterday's video that I want to read right now and react to. In this quote, you'll hear that there's a serious sense of urgency going on at Petty GMS. They want to perform and succeed right now. Here's what Mike Beam said. "We're not going to mess around here. Maury Gallagher will tell you we're not going to mess around. We're committed to this, what it costs to do it. There's really no budget. We're just buying what we need to do to run well. But we cannot have any, I don't want to say weak link, we just have to go. We're not going to mess around here. Noah knows it. I've talked to Noah about it. I said, we're going to support you, but we've got to go. Eric Jones knows it, what our plan is. Our plan is to run hard, and if you wreck it, we'll bring it home and fix it. That's the way it is." Really interesting quotes right there. And yesterday I questioned whether or not this is the perfect scenario for Noah Gragson. I mentioned how when he left KBM for Junior Motorsports several years ago, he cited the more laid-back atmosphere at JRM as something that appealed to him. Petty GMS doesn't sound very laid back. It sounds like they're ready to go, contend for a playoff spot, contend for wins, and maybe before long, contend for a championship. I understand where Petty GMS is coming from. It's a new car, the next gen. Everyone's back to square one in a sense. They're the closest to Joe Gibbs Racing they could ever hope to be. Everyone's rushing to figure this car out first. Petty GMS wants to be ahead of the field on that front. And this year with Eric Jones and Dave Ellens, I think they've succeeded. Jones is 14th in the regular season standings. He needs to win to make the playoffs, but that's a serious improvement over where the 43 car was a year ago before GMS came in. GMS is still a new team. I worry that their expectations are a little high, especially considering Noah Gragson's extremely limited Cup Series experience. I think he's a solid young driver, but he is just that, a young driver. I don't expect him to roll into the Cup garage every week next year and contend. I just don't. Top 25 in points is what I expect. 20th or better in points next year, I'd be impressed. So I worry that this environment isn't going to suit Noah Gragson perfectly, but time will tell. I just thought those sort of urgent quotes there from Mike Beam were very interesting, and I wanted to address them in today's video since I didn't get a chance to yesterday. Next up, one more bit of news from yesterday I have to touch on real fast, but Kurt Busch unfortunately will miss another race. He will not compete at Richmond this weekend. Here is his full statement, and this one struck a slightly different tone than his last few. "Brain injury recovery doesn't always take a linear path. I've been feeling well in my recovery, but this week I pushed to get my heart rate and body in a race simulation type environment, and it's clear I'm not ready to be back in the race car. This was by far the hardest week emotionally because I do feel the progression of recovery, but racing requires an extreme physical and mental effort, and my body is not 100% able to sustain the intense race conditions. I'm making progress and pushing hard each day. I'm encouraged by my team of doctors, and we will continue to do everything it takes to get me to 100% to return to competition. Thanks to everyone for the continued support, and best of luck to the 45 team and Ty this weekend in Richmond." Yes, once again, Ty Gibbs will fill in for the 4th week in a row, but yeah, a slightly different tone there. Kurt Busch saying this was the hardest week emotionally. He's ready to get back in the car, but physically just not there yet. I'm no expert on head injuries, but people I know who've had them say that they can linger. They don't go away overnight. We don't know how much longer Kurt Busch will be sidelined with this injury. NASCAR, I think, intends on granting him a playoff waiver throughout the first round of the playoffs. So if Kurt misses the rest of the regular season, misses the first 2 races of the round of 16, if he comes back for that 3rd race and wins, he would be able to move on to the next round. It sounds like NASCAR is going to stick with that philosophy. Now, of course, if we get 2 more winners, there's a very good chance Kurt Busch will be the lowest in points among one-win drivers, so he could get eliminated these next 3 weeks if we do get 2 different winners. Which, the way this season has gone, is extremely possible. But feel bad for Kurt Busch. I hope he's not rushing his return, for one. But at the same time, I do hope he's able to get back in the car, at least by the time the playoffs start. I won't blame him and his team if they keep him out past Daytona. Like, why race at Daytona if you just had a concussion and you don't have to? Like, I think that would be a risky move. But hopefully he's able to return come playoff time. We'll just have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait and see how this affects next year. Kurt Busch has already teased that 2023 would likely be his final season as a driver. Could that retirement date be moved up a year based on this injury? That's just speculation, but we've seen other drivers cut their careers maybe slightly short due to head injury or injury concerns. Just something to think about, unfortunately, but again, wishing Kurt Busch the best. I'm sure Ty Gibbs will do a good job in that car once again this weekend. Now let's get to Kimi Räikkönen, driving a NASCAR Cup Series car for the first time. He was out at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, today with Justin Marks, a handful of the guys over at Trackhouse. This was a NASCAR-approved test. It appears as though they were using one of those Action Express Racing, like, next-gen prototype cars, so not a Trackhouse car. They did have a few people there, of course. But this was Raikkonen's first chance to drive a NASCAR next-gen car. Again, he will race at Watkins Glen next weekend in the Trackhouse branded Project 91 car. Some of these clips really, really cool. Raikkonen, of course, comes from Formula One. He's a retired Formula One driver, but he's a legend over there. Seeing him race in NASCAR, certainly going to get some international eyeballs on that Watkins Glen race weekend. As far as how will he perform, I don't think this is all going to be for show. No, I think Kimi Räikkönen's going to be fairly competitive. He's going to get some practice time. He's going to get a chance in qualifying. I'm not predicting Räikkönen's going to win this race, but to think he's just going to ride around the back, collect his checks, sign some autographs, wave to the fans, and do an interview and go home, I don't think that's the case. I think he's a serious top 20 threat. And depending on how quickly he adapts to these cars, which are more suited for road course racing than the previous generation car, he could be a top 10 contender, who knows? Justin Marks, Trackhouse team owner, had this to say today regarding Kimi Räikkönen. He's been very impressed with the driver's preparation. I think, honestly, probably the easiest and simplest part of this whole thing is going to be his rate of adaptation, his aggression, and his speed in the race car, because his level of preparation has been impressive to everyone here. Look, I'm not going to get too bullish about Raikkonen's chances. Gone are the days of, the Boris Seds, the ringers coming in and competing with the big guns. The top drivers in the Cup Series have become much better road course racers today than they were even 20 years ago. So I don't expect Raikkonen to come in and just blow anyone out of the water, but, we see Formula One drivers, open wheel drivers come to stock car racing and take some time to adapt. I think Raikkonen could be a little quicker than many have been in the past. So just something to watch at Watkins Glen next week. Some cool visuals out at VIR of him making laps in that next-gen prototype machine. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of Raikkonen's chances at Watkins Glen? Now, lastly, I have to address this, but since Noah Gragson is leaving Junior Motorsports at the end of this season, the 9 car is presumably available to another up-and-coming young driver, perhaps maybe an established veteran. Many fans have kept very busy the last couple of days speculating, and a couple key drivers have fueled those speculations even further. First name I've seen many fans throw their support behind is Carson Hocevar, the young Truck Series driver for Nice Motorsports. Hocevar's had some flashes of brilliance this year. Winning the pole at Sonoma on a broken leg stands out to me, but he still hasn't won a NASCAR Truck Series event. He's in the playoffs, but hasn't found victory lane yet. I'm a big Carson Hocevar fan. I don't know what kind of funding he may bring to the table, because let's be honest, that's always important. I think he has a ton of raw talent. We just haven't seen that talent refined into a great result yet. And he does have a couple of lowlights this season, like recently at IRP, right hooking a guy down the straightaway because he was mad he got bumped out of the way. Certainly uncalled for. Go back to when Ryan Preece got mad at Hocevar when they wrecked battling for the win. Preece gave a whole lecture directed at Hocevar about racing with respect. So he's had a few lowlights this season, but the raw talent is certainly there. A competitive Xfinity car like Junior Motorsports, like that 9 car, could be the perfect place for him to refine some of that talent into some strong results. So I've seen a lot of fans throwing his name out there, and Carson Hocevar has fanned those flames. He tweeted this yesterday, I believe, a gif of a chess move, a chess piece being moved. Everything's falling into place for him to maybe go to the Xfinity Series next year. We'll see. That's just speculation. That's just a rumor. The second driver I've seen a ton of people talking about the last 24 hours or so is Drew Dollar. The last time we talked about Drew Dollar on this show, it was a reaction to this clip from Billy Venturini, ARCA Menard Series team owner, just tearing Drew Dollar a new one.
I know how David Gilliland feels. Like, Drew wrecks all your when he's driving for you, and then he wrecks it all when he's racing against you. So I can understand why he punched him in the eye over Bristol last year. I mean, just typical bonehead move by Drew. He's killed a couple of my cars here, and now he's killed one and wasn't even driving for it. I mean, just look at it. Just pure lack of talent. Great kid, does not need to be a race car driver.
Dollar almost certainly comes with a decent amount of funding, but he also comes with a less than superb reputation on track as an actual race car driver. Look, it's just one of the harsh realities of the sport today. If you have deep pockets or a major sponsor behind you, you will vault ahead of nearly every other driver on the list. So I don't know if Drew Dollar will go to the 9 car. He did tweet this out. Again, fanning the flames of this rumor, he tweeted 9 smiley face with sunglasses emojis. So he's seen the rumors and he's seen all the criticism, because just about every thread I've seen on any social media about Drew Dollar, boy, they're making Billy Venturini's comments look tame. Junior Motorsports is in an interesting position. Their lineup next year is Sam Mayer, who's a Chevy development driver. I don't know how much of his own funding he brings, but I'm sure Chevy is helping him support him. Justin Allgaier, strong support from Brandt, of course. Josh Berry, who again has a few sponsors of his own, but I don't think he's bringing a full season's worth of sponsorship. And they're losing Noah Gregson, who had Bass Pro Shops, Black Rifle Coffee. Now, I don't know, some of those sponsors may stick with Junior Motorsports in some capacity, but if they don't, that is a major slot they need to fill. That's a lot of funding they need to recover. Michael Annette's not with the team anymore, and say what you will about Michael Annette, he didn't wreck a lot of cars, he finished 12th a lot, he did bring a ton of funding from Pilot Flying J. Junior Motorsports may be looking to make up for some of that by seeking a driver like Drew Dollar, who has a lot of funding behind them. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to fuel those rumors any further. The drivers have done enough of that themselves. But share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Hocevar, Drew Dollar, somebody else? Who's the best candidate for that 9 car in your opinion? But I believe that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR day in, day out here on Out of the Groove. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well for going above and beyond the extra mile to keep this channel growing. I truly appreciate your support. We'll be back again tomorrow. I want to do a little bit of a Richmond preview with Truex and Blaney effectively battling for that last points position in the playoffs. There's a lot to watch for this weekend at Richmond for sure, so stay tuned for that. I will see you all again very, very soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Take it easy.